Hello and welcome to Twin Talk. This is Angie and I'm here with my sister Joy, and we are going to be discussing a couple of books that we'd like to recommend to you and each other. So, Joy, I think I'll let you go first.
Okay.
And what is the name of the book you would like to recommend?
Okay, so I chose a John Grisham book, and probably most of our listeners are familiar with John Grisham. One thing that's cool about John Grisham is he's from Jonesboro, Arkansas, or he was
Oh,
born there, but I believe he has like some big antebellum type mansion or something in
oh,
Mississippi, I think. Seems
hmm.
like I read that somewhere. Anyway, so that's kind of cool that he was born in Jonesboro. And I have read several of his books. Have you read any John Grisham
Oh
books that you
yeah.
know of?
Not a lot, but I'm definitely a John Grisham fan.
Okay, how many would you say you've read? Like two or
Like
three?
three, probably
Okay, that's
three.
kind of how I am. I think I've read A Time to Kill,
Mm-hmm.
The Sycamore Row that I'm about to. I've probably read five or six, I would say. I can't think of them all off the top of my
You know,
head,
it's
but I would say
funny.
five or
I
six
can't think
somewhere
of the
in there.
names, but if you said the name, like, okay, did he write a painted house?
Yes, and that's another
Okay.
one I would. As a matter of fact, I was going to suggest to you that we do a podcast over A
Okay,
Painted
I've read a
House.
painted house, and then I did the one with I think I read A Time to Kill, and then there was one more that I read, and I if you
Maybe The Firm or
uh, oh,
Rainmaker, Pelican Brief. I
it
think I
might
read
have
the Rainmaker.
been Rainmaker. I can't remember, but anyway, they were all good.
So we've both read a few, but we're not. We're both John Grisham fans, I guess, but maybe
Hmm.
we're not like just super fans that have read
Right.
every single novel and we can't wait for the next one to come out. We're just
Hmm.
kind of hit and miss. But I did have someone say they had read this book and how they really liked it, and I was like, oh, okay, I want to try that. So it's called Sycamore Row, written by John Grisham. It was published in 2014. And when I first heard it was kind of a sequel to A Time to Kill, it's about. Do you remember? Is it Jake Brigance? I can't remember how to pronounce it from the
It's
movie.
been a
Did
long
you see A
time.
Time to Kill the movie? And it was like Matthew McConaughey played the main character. And it was about the little black girl that got raped, and um, the dad went and killed the rapist, and then he was
Yes,
on trial
yes, I
for his
remember that.
life.
Gosh, it's been a long
I
time since I
know.
watched that.
Basically, what that is do you remember that lawyer?
Mm-hmm.
He's basically stayed in that town. He's had a law practice for years and years and years. And he's like, oh, I'll never have another case like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guess what?
Mm.
It's not quite that dramatic, but I'm going to go ahead and read the summary here so you'll have an idea what it's about. It says number one New York Times bestseller John Grisham returns to the iconic setting of his first novel, A Time to Kill, as Jake Brigance finds himself embroiled in a controversial trial that exposes a tortured history of racial tension. Seth Hubbard is a wealthy white man dying of lung cancer. He trusts no one. Before he hangs himself from a sycamore tree, Hubbard leaves a new handwritten will. It is an act that drags his adult children, his black maid, and defense attorney Jake Brigance into a conflict as riveting and dramatic as the murder trial that made Brigance one of Ford County's most notorious citizens just 3 years earlier.
Hmm.
The second will raises many more questions than it answers. Why would Hubbard leave nearly all of his fortune to his maid? Had chemotherapy and painkillers affected his ability to think clearly? And what does it all have to do with the piece of land once known as Sycamore Row? So
Sounds
here's
interesting.
what I love. It's set in the South. We love books set in the South,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in a rural setting. And that's what the story's about, is about this guy that kills himself and leaves a new will, and he leaves his fortune to a black maid and cuts his children out of his will. And of course, Jake,
Intriguing.
very intriguing.
Yeah.
And Jake has to sift through the history and why would he do that? And was he in his right mind? And it's very fascinating as the story unfolds why he left it to the maid. It's see, I don't want to say too much
Is
because
this a recent read or has this been a
I
while?
probably read this a few months ago. I mean, it was published in 2014, but I haven't gotten around. Like I said, I was talking to somebody and they're like, we were talking about good books. He's like, well, I just read Sycamore Row and it was really good. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try it. And like I said, I'm pretty behind, 7 years later. But
Well, I didn't realize A Time to Kill was his first book. So,
yeah, but I'll just say, because I don't want to talk too much about it because, I feel
don't
like
want
I've
to do
been
too many
giving stuff
spoiler
away.
alerts.
I love the book. I thought it was really good. I love how the story unfolded, and I love how it's all connected at the end and how you really understand why he gave it to the maid.
Now, I will say this. If I were to start reading, this is kind of honestly, this is reminding me, I've kind of forgotten about John Grisham. And it's kind of making me think, oh, I'd like to go read the books I've never read. But saying that, I almost feel like I'd want to read them from the beginning in sequence.
I don't think that really matters because
so,
usually it's a different main character. It has no.
Oh, okay. They don't really build on each other at all. Okay.
This is unique in that, I mean, I don't know because I'm not a John Grisham expert, but as far as I know, this is the only time the main character, he's had a sequel with the same main character.
Yeah.
As far as I know, and we'll probably get people writing or saying or whatever, no, there's this and this, but as far as I know.
Okay.
Yeah, usually they're not related at all.
Okay.
The characters, so.
Yeah, but you've whet my appetite because I love John Grisham, so.
And I will say out of all the books I've read by him, A Painted House and now this one, Sycamore Row, are probably my top 2 favorite.
Well, that's funny you said that because A Painted House was my least favorite.
Because, and I don't know why I liked it. I think it's a break from, the law. And I just liked it because it was based...
It's different from his other books.
Yes, and it kind of goes back to the time period where he grew up in Arkansas.
Yeah, and it talks about sharecropping, and I thought that was all interesting.
Yeah.
And it seemed very realistic.
I liked A Painted House. I mean, it's not one of my all-time favorite books, but it's one of my favorite John Grisham books. So, anyway... That's really all I have to say about it, because like I said, I can't go too deep into it because I don't want to give spoiler alerts, but I really think you'll like it if you read it.
So, lots of twists and turns.
Yes, it's just, to me, you're like, how in the world did he go from leaving his fortune to his kids to this black maid?
Were you satisfied with the ending?
Very.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. It's like justice was served and everything was as it should be.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. There has a nice, wonderful ending.
That's good because I don't like books when you walk away going, what? Why?
I know. Like Mexican Gothic. Right. Yeah, like, what? Okay.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Now, what's the book you're going to recommend?
Okay. So, I am going to recommend a book that everyone has heard of, and it's called Heidi. And I seriously doubt there's many people who's never at least heard of the book Heidi. I actually own 2 copies, and just while ago I ran downstairs and grabbed my copies, and one's 1944 and one's 1954 copyright.
Wow.
Now, the actual book it was first published in 1881.
Oh, I did not know it was so old.
Yeah, it's very old. So Heidi is a work of children's fiction published in 1881 by Swiss author Johanna Spyri. And it was originally published in 2 parts. I didn't know this. So the first part was called Heidi, her years of wandering and learning. And the second one was called Heidi, how she used what she learned. So it's interesting that now it's just a novel is all combined into one novel. But anyway, basically it's one of those books that you know how I like classics. And but it's one of those books that to me is just a refreshing read if you want to kind of an escape like from the dark and dreary just kind of the times we live in and listen to the news and all the bad stuff. Go read Heidi.
Exactly.
Yeah, go read Heidi. I mean, if you want,
I agree. It's uplifting. It's you're away from technology. This book takes you away from technology and the cares of this world.
It's all okay. So just a real quick summary of what it's about. So it's about a 5-year-old girl orphan. Here we go. No parents.
No parents.
The common thread throughout all her books. So basically a little girl, she has no parents. The aunt gets a job, so she basically hauls her up to Switzerland, up on the Alps where Heidi's grandfather is living. Well, the grandfather is this horrible person. Well, you're led to believe that anyway in the beginning, but he's just very angry.
Gruff,
He's angry at the world. He's very gruff, and she basically just puts her at his doorstep and runs. And so Heidi grows up with her grandfather, and is it
the Swiss Alps?
It's in the Swiss Alps, and they actually call him the Alm Uncle because even for the area that they live in, it's very remote. They're in the mountains, but he lives even further up. So he lives in a very, very remote part of the mountains, and like even the people in the town are like, what's he doing up there alone in the winters by himself? And of course, they all think he's this really gruff person, and there's rumors that he's killed someone and all this. But anyway, Heidi's very happy to live with him. She loves her grandfather. They develop a really close bond. But her aunt comes back, takes her away from the grandfather because she has been offered a position for Heidi in Germany or somewhere with a wealthy family if she'll just be a companion to this wealthy family's daughter. So she becomes a companion for this daughter, but while she's there, she's extremely homesick for her grandfather. She misses the Alps, she misses the goats, she misses her friend Peter.
Yeah.
And anyway, but it's really sad what she has to endure when she's living, because she's not at home at all. She's uncomfortable. She's having to she's learning a whole new way of social etiquette in life, and it's totally foreign to her from what she's used to running barefoot up on the Alps. And anyway, but the best part of the story is that she does end up getting to go back with her grandfather, and because of her experience with this little girl, like, a miracle happens. And so to me, it's a story about how sometimes in our lives God puts us in these situations that we're like, why am I having to go through this? And why is this happening to me? But in the end, you can see God's fingerprints in his design all through it, that he was there all along and there was a purpose for it. And so this is one of those books. It's almost it's just got a really good message behind it. And it's, especially if you're a Christian or a believer, I believe personally this author was a Christian. Now, I may be wrong.
I never looked at it from that perspective.
I may be wrong, but if you really pay attention to the story and the details, she's showing that God's hand was with Heidi through this all, and because of it, a miracle happened, and he was...
kind of reminds me of Joseph in the Bible.
Yes, like so. Anyway, it's just, but what I personally love about it, not just that it has such a great uplifting story, and Heidi's such a... she's just so positive and just so sweet, and she loves life, and she's just got a pure spirit. But what I love about it is just the descriptions of the Swiss Alps. It makes you, of course, it's one of those books that makes you want to go visit Switzerland, I was like, I want to go see where Heidi lived, But anyway, it's just the scenery and the setting.
I love everything you're saying, like the setting, the Swiss Alps, this pure little girl. I just love the simplicity of their life.
Yes.
They eat bread and cheese and drink milk. She goes out and watches the goats and
her
picks
day
flowers.
is spent with Peter watching the goats play up on the
sun
mountains.
and the wind. And I just love, sitting here, in a warm... We're sitting in your bed and we've got air conditioning on and all that, and it's easy to go, oh, that sounds so awesome, until you get there and you have no air conditioning, no heat. But doesn't that sound so liberating, just getting away from everything and just kind of enjoying just being outdoors? And
the one thing that you're kind of hitting on a point, I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but the author does a really good job of portraying life in the Swiss Alps as opposed to life in a formal
setting,
a formal social setting, a higher, what am I trying to say? Higher economic social circles. So what it's like to live, kind of, to me, I take it as God didn't intend for us to live in this rigid lifestyle where your fork has to be at a certain spot and you have to eat at a certain time, and I really feel like he intended us to live a little bit more life that's a little bit more freeing and not set on our social rules, if that makes sense.
Like there's so much education is almost like an idol,
Yes.
And they're like a slave to education and formality.
Yes, in this book, this family was a slave to almost to being to their wealth,
etiquette, education, and there's nothing wrong with those things, and we need to be educated. Hello, I'm a teacher, but
it just showed.
I just feel like sometimes parents, teachers, me included, I'm sure I've been guilty of this, that we put so much emphasis on education that we sometimes forget the important things of life. Yes, education's important. I'm not saying that, but I almost feel like it's an idol in some people's life. Their whole life's about getting that next degree, that next
and there's kids who go into depression because they didn't get all A's.
Yeah, they didn't get that A. I just feel like we put too much emphasis on education sometimes.
Yeah, but so the bottom line is when Heidi, was placed in two separate social settings, and the place that she truly was the happiest.
Yeah, it was a huge contrast between
Yes.
with her grandfather in the Alps and this,
wealthy family,
very rigid, formal, wealthy family setting.
Yes.
And which one was she happier in? Of course,
Yeah,
in
she
this
was
book, she's happier in the
in the
Swiss
place
Alps.
where she didn't have the all the accommodations and the luxuries and the all she had was her little loft to sleep in and her little goats to play with and
But
the
she
milk
had
and
freedom.
she ate and she had it was her freedom.
It was her freedom and being with family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very well put. So,
Yeah.
highly recommend Heidi. And it's, and one of the things I read is that it's a book for people who love children. And I thought, yeah, that's true. It is.
I
another
love
thing,
that movie. We watched the movie not too long ago.
That's what I was going
Angie
to
and I
talk
watched
about.
them. Oh, I didn't know you were going to talk about it. I love the movie.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for mentioning that because so basically, I do want to recommend. It's funny, we've talked about this many times. Like, well, how true was the movie to the book? Well, if there is now there's tons of Heidi movies and short story films. There's just a ton of them. But the one I recommend is called Heidi, and it's a 2015 film. I'm not sure exactly where you can. It's just called Heidi, but
when we watched it, was it a DVD or do we watch it on Netflix? I don't remember where we watched it.
But just to real quickly, I do have a little summary. It says Heidi is a 2015 Swiss family film directed by Elaine Gosponer, Gsponer. Anyway, it stars the little girl that plays Heidi. Her name is Anouk Steffen.
Okay.
So I don't know what nationality she is, but so if you just Googled Anouk, Anuksteffen, you would find the correct Heidi film, but it was produced in 2015. But anyway, this film is so close to the original story. It's not even funny. I mean, so if when you watch the film, you've basically read Heidi. I mean, it's that close. Right. And the little girl's amazing. She's a really good actress. And the setting, didn't you think the village and the cabin
and the grandpa, they cast him so well.
Oh, it was all. I mean, so like if you read this book and you're hoping to find something that portrays it, watch this film. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, we watched it not too long ago. And it is, and I've seen that's the second version I've seen of Heidi, but yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. That's all I had.
Okay, so I guess to cap it all up, I highly recommend Sycamore Row by John Grisham. And
I highly recommend Heidi. It's one of those books that's
now who wrote that again?
Johanna Spyri, Spyri. I don't know how to.
Could it be Johann?
It could be.
Because I know a lot of times the J is pronounced like a Y.
Yes, matter of fact, I'm glad you said that because I honestly don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
Johanna.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know
She's Swiss.
Okay, I don't know. I just know sometimes that J in some languages pronounced like a Y, like Johann. We'll have to find out how to pronounce it.
Just FYI, Joy, I do collect Heidi books.
Yes, and she has two really cool ones. I wish we need to upload the pictures.
It's funny because people have asked me, well, I've seen books. I've had several people tell me, I know you collect these old children's books, but I never knew if you had that one. And my answer is always this. It doesn't matter. Once I find a book I love, because for example, Robin Hood and Heidi, I can't have too many. I want every version there is. So get it for me.
Well, I would love it if you would take a picture of those and upload it to our website because they are really cool. I especially love that one in your left hand right there.
Yeah.
We'll upload it so the listeners can see it. It's really cool.
I mean, my goal in life would be to have every cover that's ever been made for Heidi. And you and I were just talking before this podcast, but I still don't understand why there's so many different covers for children's books. I don't understand why one book alone might have 25 different covers.
All I can think of is just throughout the years, as they're republished over and over, they just do a new cover every time.
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. And when it's a really old book and they publish them every 5-10 years or whatever because they're so popular, I think they just get a new cover every time.
So that's what's so cool is you can literally collect. You might have 10 of these, and they're going to all be a different cover. So that's one thing I like about collecting books.
Well, I absolutely love the cover on that one.
It is cool.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on
Twin Talk.